All right, so I'm here today in my weirdly feminine apartment with my scented candles and my hideous orange sweater to talk to you today about why Netflix is giving me the shits lately. Now, I've had like a bone to pick with Netflix ever since they released this documentary called Don't Fuck with Cats.
Are you ready? The internet is boundless. There's the happy places, and then there's another part of the internet, the seedy underbelly. I was on Facebook one day.
And then I found this video. I pressed play.
Now, this was a documentary that came out about the would-be killer, Luca Magnotta, and basically these like internet detectives, right? Like these boomers. Basically, these boomers tried to track him down after he posted a video of a cat getting killed, right? Like him killing a cat. And basically the documentary follows how they like got obsessed with doorknobs.
There's a lot of information in the video. You see a door handle,
street signs, and like basically tried to track this guy down.
Electrical receptacles.
Everything pointed to North America. But then
you hear some voices.
it was Russian.
For all intents and purposes, it's a great true crime documentary. It ticks all those boxes. It's fascinating. It's dark. It's well-paced. It's like Netflix at its best. It is really dark subject matter, but it's awesome. But the issue I have with the documentary, and I've had it since I've watched it, and every single time I recommend it to someone, I then have to rant to them about this, is the ending, right? At the end, like middle-aged boomer who basically had a gamer tag called Body Movin' in reference to like the Beastie Boys song. Basically like gets all smug and asks herself the question, by kind of joining him on this cat and mouse game, did we egg him on to then murder someone in real life?
Maybe I did exactly what Luca wanted.
Were we pawns? Were we being used to help him tell his story? What part did we have to play?
Did we feed his narcissism to the point where he had to go forward? Did we feed the monster or did we create it?
Right? Like, were we raising the stakes in this sort of cat and mouse game?
This person wants to play a game of cat and mouse, and I'm up for that.
Turns straight to the camera, looks us right into the soul and goes like, what about you guys? Are you giving Luca Magnotta the fame and attention that he wants? Are you rewarding him by watching this documentary?
And you at home watching a whole fucking documentary about Luca Magnotta. Are you complicit? Perhaps it's time we turned off the machine.
Lady, I don't want to hear it from you. I don't want to hear it from you. You willingly got on this documentary and just talked about how awesome this cat and mouse game was for like 6 hours. And then you're like, yo, fuck you for watching. It's like, go away. Go away. I don't like it. And I don't like that it's the way that this Netflix documentary ends. It just feels so smug and so like, oh, look, we're self-aware. And it's like Netflix is not self-aware. And that's the main thing I'm venting about here, is Netflix's weird level of like corporate self-awareness that they've brought into their content recently. I hate it. I don't think it's well handled. Now, you could argue they're doing the same thing that Mattel was doing in the Barbie movie, where they're sort of making fun of the issues they've created in the past. But Netflix is like still doing it, and they're not showing any signs of change. Like, they have this like gross habit recently, and I don't know when it started. It might have been because of that sort of sexy take on Ted Bundy they released, where Zac Efron played him, and then everyone pushed back about whether it was glamorizing a serial killer. Now, there were people that then came to defend Netflix's decision, saying, well, the reason Ted Bundy was such a successful serial killer was because he was so charming and so hot, apparently, and like alluring, right? Like, he provided a sense of comfort to these women before killing them. And so Netflix sort of responded by going, oh, we're going to release a really powerful documentary, you know, exploring the true tale of what happened. And they keep doing this now, where they basically release something that sort of sensationalizes a true crime event and then add some supplementary material later to almost alleviate themselves of any criticism. And I think the more baller thing to do would just be to release well-made, unbiased, good documentaries and just deal with the backlash. And they've done it before, and I miss when they used to be able to do it. One example would be the Kanye West documentary they released. Kanye has always been a controversial figure. The thing I appreciated about that documentary was sort of just focusing on him as an artist and his rise to fame, and then sort of his mental health. And it was a really interesting look into someone that is so polarizing. Aside from that, Netflix just seems to keep wanting to reap the rewards of sort of sensationalist media and all these true crime documentaries and the sort of innate appeal that they have with us as audience members. And I wish they would just own it. I'm sick of this smug self-awareness that we keep getting. And so another example, aside from the Don't Fuck with Cats documentary, they did the sort of erotic leaning Ted Bundy movie only to follow it up with a documentary to be like, see, we're good people. And then they do it again with recently the Dharma documentary. The Dharma documentary came out, everyone got really annoyed, and then they're like, nah, here's a really grounded documentary if anyone wants to watch it. And the thing is, I'm just going to cut to the chase. These documentaries that they release that follow up are boring as shit, and they know no one's going to watch them. Everyone would prefer to watch the sensationalist Jeffrey Dahmer show starring Evan Peters. It's just how it is. And I'm just sick of them being so smug. And this smugness came up again when we got Black Mirror Season 6. First episode of Black Mirror Season 6 was basically this commentary on AI and how we're obsessed with voyeurism and I don't know, just addicted to our phones, and we would rather watch someone else's life than our own. And it's whoa, look, Netflix is taking accountability and they're looking at their place in modern day society. And it's just make good shit. The issue I have with Black Mirror Season 6 is a lot of it is just average, and it's a really far cry from what we used to get. I don't think this self-involved circle jerk of oh, we're such a bad company, but we make such good stuff, please watch it, it's just kind of it's lame to witness. I don't think it's that revolutionary or smart to turn on a show that criticizes its own production company. I mean, Simpsons did this all the time. There were so many jokes at the expense of basically the fact that Rupert Murdoch owns everything.
That's enough now. I own 60% of that network. I suppose you don't like tabloid newspapers either.
I just wish they would stop with this arrogant vibe. And then we get to the Black Mirror episode, Lock Henry, which actually examines our fascination with true crime documentary, true crime podcasts, and what that leads to. And it's this scathing critique of a culture that Netflix has helped create. And I just think that Netflix needs to own their place in this and just enjoy it. Just make good stuff and make it responsibly. And the way we consume media is sort of on us. These constant attempts to sort of self-critique and self-analyze just reads to me as a company that is desperate to stay in good favor. And it just reeks of arrogance. The reason I bring all of this up is that they released a trailer a while ago for their new documentary that is basically a recap of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard court case. Basically, my issue here is that in the plot description of the trailer, they described the case as something that was considered a trial by TikTok. And the documentary itself, which I've just watched, sort of highlights this idea that the court of public opinion became so overwhelming that it started impacting the case. And it didn't give both sides of the court case a fair shout, and it had serious mental health implications for both of them. It seemed like Netflix almost wanted to question the ethical implications of something like that happening. But the thing is, simultaneously, Netflix is now adding to this media circus. They are now adding to the trial by TikTok. This is reopening the case just as it felt like it was dying down. I say this because it feels like the case was only starting to sort of die down in the public consciousness, and now Netflix is willingly kind of reopening it and asking us as a society to re-examine it. Look, and here's the thing, I'm not going to sit on my high horse. I enjoyed the documentary. I thought it was pretty well made. I have some issues, but the thing is, I appreciate that Netflix was probably you know what, a lot of people are going to watch this, a lot of people are going to enjoy it, it fascinates a lot of people, let's just put it out. I'm fine with that. I think the issue I have here is, and the reason I brought up those examples earlier, is the fact that Netflix seems to be constantly wanting to re-examine their place in the media circus and examine their place in sort of adding a spotlight to people that shouldn't be getting a spotlight. And it just feels really odd that they're making this media like Black Mirror and Don't Fuck with Cats, where they're posing the question, hey, are we adding to this stuff? And then they will willingly release a documentary just as it was dying down on TikTok, examining like the trial by TikTok. Like, it's obviously going to reopen everyone's eyes to this case. And I feel like no matter what side of the fence you fall on, whether you're on Johnny Depp's side or Amber Heard's side, they both really seem adamant about leaving this behind and moving on. I just want to stress, I'm not mad at Netflix for seizing an opportunity and making a documentary that will probably pull in numbers. I'm annoyed because they keep trying to like pat themselves on the back previously by being like, look, we're examining our place in the media landscape. And it's like, but you're not. You just keep doing it. Like, you just made another one. You just made another one about people that like are still alive and are now going to have to deal with a whole nother media circus. But look, like, if you want my quick thoughts on like the documentary itself, I actually think it's quite good. I think it comes off fairly balanced, and I think ideally when people watch this, they examine both sides and the harm that like online dogpiling causes. Ideally, mature viewers would watch this documentary and sort of look at it as an examination of dogpiling, as an examination of the way different genders are treated in these roles, as sort of an examination on like a post-Me Too allegation. Like, all of this could be really interesting, but I think the thing is, Netflix have released a documentary that is clearly predisposed for Johnny Depp's side. And I think the thing is, like, culturally and like an overwhelming majority of people are already rooting for Johnny Depp. They were already on his side. I don't really know what this documentary is adding to this conversation, but the thing is, as an actual documentary, I thought it was really well done. I think the thing is, there's a lot of stuff that sort of repulsed me about Johnny Depp's supporters in this documentary, and that's probably a video for another day. But as a documentary, yeah, like, objectively, it's well done, it's well told, it's technically awesome, it's well paced. Like, it's a good documentary. If you're bored and you want to watch something, watch it. But I think the thing is, Netflix just can't help themselves, and they get smug and arrogant again. Is at the end of the documentary, there is a title card that reads, "In December 2022, both sides agreed to settle the case. Amber Heard agreed to pay Johnny Depp $1 million. She claimed online abuse was a factor behind her decision. Debate on social media continues to rage." So they take this stance at the end of the documentary that it is really unfortunate that the court of public opinion got in the way of this case, and the idea that like society will choose who they like in a celebrity case like this, and then kind of just validate that opinion and not have their eyes open to the other side. The documentary is sort of like questioning that, right? And it's sort of critiquing that, and it's asking whether this stuff should be public. But then they have the gall to go like, oh, debate on social media continues to rage, and she claimed online abuse was a factor behind her decision. And it's like, you are contributing to that. By making this documentary, you are contributing to that. And it rubs me the wrong way because, again, like, I feel like they've been trying to be self-aware here and almost like avoid critique by constantly critiquing themselves. And then they release something that is obviously going to open up the case again for everyone to analyze. Everyone's going to be an internet detective. Like that pathetic dude in like the Deadpool mask who can't even show his face, just constantly shitting on Amber Heard. Like, it just reeks of like, oh, I'm mad at women and I want to see them suffer. And that's not to say that I believe she's 100% in the right or Johnny Depp is 100% in the wrong. I'm just saying there is a really sort of gross feeling at how badly people wanted to see Amber suffer. It's not just a feeling of like, oh, I want fair justice to be done. He's proven guilty for defamation. Cool. This is like toxic bullying. It's completely laced in a culture of wanting to see women put in their place. Netflix acknowledging like, oh, debate on social media continues to rage. It's like they've just completely poured gasoline on that, like 100%. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you want to see my actual opinions on the documentary and the case, I'm happy to do that. Anyways, thank you so much. Have a good day.